Two best scoring rounds, 8 points in Misano, 9 at Donington Park. Successful home round, probably should have yielded some top 10 finishes after an excellent Super Pole there. He was a little outfought in races, had to be content with 2 11th place finishes on the Sunday. As I've said, 6th row of the grid completed by Jari Montella and Tito Rabat. Anthony Nelson on the grid, down to you.
With Serafino, Foti, Serra, Nicolo in 4th position, Alvaro in 7th. It's been a bit of a challenge so far, but how are they feeling over a long race?
But to be honest, we have always the same challenge. No, we try to do our best. We try to win for sure. Yesterday, Nicolo was not comfortable with his bike, but for sure today we improve a lot. And also Alvaro, you know, Alvaro struggled a little bit in the qualify, but for sure for the race he will be there.
Well, best of luck. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, so the target to move forward for Bulliger, it's an absolute must to at least finish in 2nd place behind Toprak Razgatlioglu if Toprak goes away to win it. So Bulliger then with work to do from row number 2. Sam Lowe's in particular has had good pace through free practice. Let's continue on through row 6 then. Here is Jari Montella in P17. Has been a top 10 finisher in 5 of the 7 rounds so far. Cremona and Donington Park, the 2 exceptions. Only 3 points on the board last time out, the UK round. His first appearance after his contract renewal was confirmed with Barney Ducati for 2026. Carrying a bit of a knock here to his elbow and feet following a practice crash this morning. Tito Rabat has also taken a fair few knocks already this weekend so far, looking for his first points since race 1 in Assen. 8 more scoreless rides on the Yamaha before his departure, and then no points in his first weekend for MIE Honda at Donington Park. Michael van der Mark, who made his 300th World SBK start at Donington Park last time out, goes from row number 7 along with Axel Bassani, and Taz McKenzie completes that 7th row, his first weekend since a move onto the Bonovo Ducati. Nicolo Bulliger's championship advantage sat at 31 points just 2 rounds ago. 6 races later, he's lost the championship lead for the first time in 2025. The Ducati man will point to 45 points lost in circumstances outside of his control. 2 mechanical failures in Assen, a first corner collision with Axel Bassani in Misano. But Bulliger now has no further room for error, facing a Toprak Razgatlioglu who has restricted him to just 1 win in 9 races. Still only 4 points between them, and it's now up to Bulliger to respond in a straight fight over the remaining 15 races. Alex Raby and Steve English for race 1 of the 2025 Hungarian round, this first at brand new venue, Balaton Park circuit. And here it is Bulliger, who must quickly get back to winning ways.
Yeah, and for Bulliger from the 2nd row of the grid, he's up against it into turn 1, because with Locatelli in front of him, Petrucci and Iker Lecuona beside him on the grid, it's going to be difficult for him to make progress into turn 1. You can see there for some of the riders making their way off the grid, they'll use this as an opportunity to really fine-tune what they have to do on the break point in towards turn 1, just to give them that little bit of confidence going into the race, because this is the first time ever where these riders are facing that prospect from the lights going out to where do you break into turn 1, and it's always, you have to be a little bit adaptable first.
Yeah, short start-finish straight, 668 metres, and we saw there just on the warm-up lap, it's a very short squirt to the opening bend. So it could be a little bit side-by-side. It's going to be tight off the line.
It will be side-by-side, because everyone's going to know this is your chance to make up places. As we make our way around the circuit, there's actually very few really key overtaking opportunities around here, other than to have a late lunge and force the other rider to set it up. During the WCO race that we saw, down in towards 9 and 10, just where the riders are coming through now, into turn 11, the hairpin became a bit of an overtaking spot. But again, into here, you have to be alongside and let the brake off, and the other rider has to then cede the position. Turn 5 is probably the best overtaking opportunity for the Superbike riders, and then up towards turn 15. Everywhere else, it's about forcing mistakes, and you can make a lot of mistakes around here. Turn 12, turn 15, these chicanes, We've seen so many riders run in hot into the first part and then cost themselves all their momentum through the exit.
Yes, frankly, it would be a surprise if we don't have a few riders running off into the gravel early on, and we've seen the gravels deep enough to cause riders problems and cost them a lot of time.
Just in relation to tyre wear as well and tyre usage through this track, with the zero tyre, the harder tyre that's available for the longer races this weekend, tyre wear isn't a big issue, but how it changes the characteristics of what the tyre does is an issue. And typically here is about 40% of the consumption that the teams would expect from that tyre, but once the tyre starts to drop a little bit, it then spins more and more, and you have to change from being aggressive on the corner entry to trying to use that spin to find something in the middle of the corner.
Championship standings then, after the 7 completed rounds so far. Toprak Razgatlioglu, championship leader for the first time, 4 points ahead of Nicolo Bulliger. Danilo Petrucci, 136 back from the series leader, 21 points covering him. Alvaro Bautista and Andrea Locatelli in the battle for third. And watch out for Sam Lowe, 6th in the championship, had podium pace throughout the UK round last time out, claimed his second rostrum finish of the season, and has been the one man to match Toprak for pace through free practice so far here at the Balaton Park circuit. Fourth Hungarian round, the first at this Balaton Park circuit, getting underway. A good start from Toprak Razgatlioglu. Not a good one at all for Sam Lowe. He's swallowed up by Andrea Locatelli in the run to the first turn. Lowe then getting back to the inside to defend position, but Nicolo Bulliger gets around him. They'll be side by side now on the change of direction through turn 2, and a 3-rider pile-up. Andrea Ionone's involved, and then a 4-rider pile-up behind as they all slow down to try and avoid that. That's a big multi-rider incident on lap number 1. Through the change of direction, turns 1 to 2, and a big pinch point on this opening lap.
Yeah, it's Gerloff, you can see there on the curb, and it looked like we also had Remy Gardner in there as well, so lots of riders. That'd be a red flag for sure.
Yeah, red flag now confirmed. I think Jari Montella and Ryan Vickers, as well as Axel Bassani, they were some of the riders who started a little bit further back, who were caught up in that melee.
Just as an interesting point about the rules and regulations here in World SBK, you have a one-bike rule, but you are able to change to your spare bike if your bike is damaged beyond repair. So in an instant like this, teams might well opt to roll out their second bike just to make sure that they're able to take the start. So if you're someone like Danilo Petrucci that was involved in that, starting from the second row of the grid, well, you can see it looks like one of the Barney bikes being able to get rolling, both of them there as well, so Petrucci able to get back. But if your bike can't restart, you'll come straight back to the pits and change to your other bike, and you'll still be able to take your start from your original grid position. It will mean that for the rest of the weekend, you have to use that bike. That's why teams only want to use that strategy during a race.
As you say, both Danilo Petrucci and Jari Montella have rejoined. The initial collision, the initial fall, was Petrucci, Lecuona and Iannone, and then a subsequent crash, confirmation that the involvement of Remy Gardner, Ryan Vickers, Jari Montella and Garrett Gerloff. So as you can see, multiple riders involved there, 7 in fact through turn 2 on that opening lap, forcing the red flag. Good news for Barney Ducati that both of their riders are straight back up and able to make their way back to the pits under the steam of their own machines. In fact, they're making their way around now through turns 8 and 9 as they head towards the pits. The rest of the riders rushing in.
Just seen as well, Gerloff has been able to get himself going again, it looks like, from the timing screens, and we saw him lying on the ground, so that's good to see for him.
Yes, and Axel Bassani back to the pits as well. He was there or thereabouts when that big pinch point happened, had to back out of it to avoid the melee in front of him. Well, quite a dramatic start to the first race here at Balaton Park. Obviously, as we got as far as the second bend, and then 7 riders all involved. Good news is a full reset. Everyone goes back to their original grid positions, and as long as everyone's fit to take their places, then we will be able to do so forthwith. Just confirmation, standard practice here. We lose the lap that the riders had effectively completed. So when we do start again, it will be a 20-lap race, and we'll give you news as soon as we've got it as to when pit lane will open.
We do have a little bit of news from pit lane, Anthony Nelson.
Yeah, just a Team Go 11 from Andrea Iannone. They've already brought their second bike out, so they'll be looking, I imagine, to start with that.
Yeah, so it's an opportunity if the first bike is damaged. Lecuona's bike is still on the circuit, Gardner's as well, according to our data. So there might be those teams rushing to at least have it prepared and at least have it ready. Garrett Gerloff just making his way through the final chicane now and back towards pit lane. That's Danilo Petrucci making his way in. Obviously Petrucci as high as the second row of the grid. So the leaders making their way through initially well, but right behind, it all kicked off a little bit further back.
Yeah, it did look like down through one we saw that the two Aruba bikes had made good starts and give themselves a chance to try and attack into two. Sam Lowe's came back at Buliga, he's in P3, and then it seemed to bottleneck behind them. Looked like Petrucci was involved in it. Maybe there was contact from behind for Petrucci from Iannone, but Iker Lecuona was on the outside and basically just got collected by someone else. So it's always tricky at that moment, and certainly whenever you come to a circuit for the first time as well, it's even trickier. Nobody really knows what to expect.
And a circuit where everyone's been saying all weekend it's going to be tough to pass, it's going to be tough to pass. So you're trying to win the race on lap one, as riders would say. And actually, you know, we've got 20 laps ahead of us, but everyone jostling for those positions, 3 abreast through 3 consecutive left-handers is probably not going to work out anyway. So if you're on the outside, you almost want to seed and get back to an inside line. But operations going on here on the track. We will go back to the original starting grid as per the results of Tissot Superpole this morning. But first, we've got to get the track cleaned. We did see the safety car go straight out behind the riders and complete a lap. Let's have another look at the start here, Steve. The first few riders getting away okay. It wasn't a good start for Sam Lowe's, was it? And then he's going to the inside and everyone else bottling up behind him into the first bend.
See Petrucci into one, gets himself unsettled, trying to come back at the 2 Aruba bikes. Just keep an eye on Petrucci through in towards turn 2, because you've got Lecuona on the outside. There's contact there that pushes Iannone into Petrucci, it looks like. And then Lecuona is the unlucky rider there. Was
Iannone out of shape before touching, or...?
We'll get a better view of it here from him, and yeah, well...
Or does he get a clip from behind, the Honda perhaps behind?
Possibly, but it looks also like he's just gone in maybe a bit too hot there, and it's just so close into that section. We'll see if we can see a little bit of contact maybe with the Honda. There's a bit of contact there between Johnny and Xavi Vierge, so maybe it just pushes them all in together there, and it's just unfortunate too many bikes trying to get through that one area of the track. Yeah,
if 3 into 1 doesn't go, then 7 into 1 certainly doesn't go. Let's watch an onboard. This is going to be frightful.
Just keep an eye on the right hand side, and yeah, you can see there Petrucci just collected from behind, and Xavi and Iker Lecuona then very unlucky to be on the outside and caught out in that.
Anthony, how are they getting on down in pit lane?
Well, the word on both Barney bikes who are part of that incident. Danilo Petrucci has a second bike out, and they're working on that now, even though he did manage to get his first bike back into the garage. Jaro Montella still has his bike from the crash. From what I can see, the main damage that he lost his left front wing in that collision, but they are still using the bike. It seems that he had it during that incident. I haven't caught a glimpse of the second bike yet.
Yeah, typically those wings, they break off very quickly once there's any sort of impact with the ground. That's a safety feature for them as much as anything else. But hopefully for Montella, that means that he's going to be okay to take the start. But you can see for Garrett Gerloff's crew working hard, and Bimoto Mechanics in there as well. And that's what you want to see. You want to be able to see everyone working to be able to get back into the race. And hopefully for Garrett, he's able to have it where that bike is ready. We still have no time for when the race will be restarted. So until 1 minute after pit lane opens, you can get down pit lane and take up your original grid position. This is Remy Gardner's crew working on his bike. And again, you'd imagine that's the change of bike there for Remy. It's definitely not the bike that he crashed at the start of the race, it looks like.
Latest news on Gardner is that he's gone to the medical centre for a checkup. So hopefully they just confirm that he's okay, and the team's work here to get a bike ready for him enables him to take the start. But obviously it was a big impact. There was a lot of riders involved. It was great to see the ones that rejoined, you know, 3 riders who rejoined able to ride back. There's a couple of other bikes still being brought back from that incident. And with so many riders involved, I think it's fair enough that we just have a pause here and everyone collects their thoughts before we go again.
Yeah, and obviously it'll be investigated by the stewards, but it's also very hard to apportion too much blame in that, especially whenever it's in the mid-pack. If it's riders at the very front, they've got the space to be able to make a reaction and make a decision. If you're in the middle of the pack, you don't have that option.
No, it was side by side behind Iannone. He's got hit by the Honda from behind. He's then launched into the side of Petrucci. Another 3 riders going down, and then further back, you've got no space to avoid anything because the whole track is occupied by fallen riders.
Yeah, it didn't look like Alex Lowe's was involved in that incident, but the team working on the bike there as well. So we'll try and see exactly what the situation is down there for those.
Yes, Alex Lowe's you can see here, and Lowe's coming from the 4th row of the grid, P12 for him. And certainly there was a bit of a parting of the waves there. I think by the time that we got through the first checkpoint, Zaidi was up into P14, and it was all a little bit chaotic early on. Rather unusual sight of seeing two number 9 bikes in World SBK, but we've explained the whys and the wherefores for that, and Marco Barnabo in the depth of it, managing this situation and now getting involved himself as well as the team go to work here.
On Thursday, the teams build up both bikes and then they'll wheel their spare bike out of the main garage and back into an area at the side of it. But every morning they'll still warm up both bikes, they'll still prepare them, they'll still get ready just in case. And then if you end up with an eventuality like this is when you need to be ready to go. And you can see Iker Lekwona's bike also in the same situation there. So all the teams know the rules and they're all trying to give themselves the best chance possible to be able to get a decent result here. So Honda just warming up Iker's bike. Still no time for when pit lane will open. So everyone has to be in a frenzy, but a calm frenzy, to try and make sure that all the jobs are done and that all the boxes are ticked.
Yeah, at the moment the safety car's parked on the entrance to turn 2, just on the outside. So obviously the work's still ongoing to just clear the track with a lot of debris, because much as we heard wings and so on, there's a lot of material then, a lot of fibre on the track as well that needs to be cleared. I can tell you the safety car's now beginning to move away, so that might give us an indication as to what's going on. This is the work continuing in the Barney Ducati garage. Meanwhile, Anthony, what else is going on up and down the pit lane?
Just got word from BMotor team manager Gim Roda that it's a clutch change for both riders, Alex Hose and for Axel Bassani.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. And they will see if that has an impact for them from the 4th row of the grid for Lowe's, and then further back for Bassani. But again, smart by the team, give yourself the best chance possible. And they've also got a little bit of information now about what it's like off the line, and that also plays a key role for everyone now in the restart. You
would imagine that one of the riders has identified something off the start then, and then as a precautionary measure they've made a change for both. So both riders will benefit from that. Can confirm pit lane will open at 18 minutes past the hour. So it'll be your quick start procedure. Pit lane will be open for 1 minute, then we'll grid up and go again. I can see Anthony Nelson running down pit lane to gather us all of the information with 6 minutes remaining. So keep up the hard work. It's hot work as well, isn't it, Steve? It's been scorching temperatures here at Peloton Park.
Yeah, 31 degrees out there at the minute, and for the riders, 43 degrees track temperature. That's always the key figure for everyone. And obviously enough, after the spots of rain we had earlier on before the Super Pole session, there's lots of factors that everyone's thinking of at this stage. And the Go 11 crew, you can see there, just all hands on deck.
Anthony's not the fastest runner in pit lane on the evidence of that. Yeah, absolutely, a lot of work to be done here. Let's see into their pit box now. Andrea Iannone, at least it's a single bike entry still, because it gives them the chance to just focus on the one bike and get themselves ready to go.
Yeah, and the last thing Iannone needs is something like this as well, because he's had a good weekend. He needs to make sure he's able to come away with decent results for it, and hopefully that's the case for him.
5.5 minutes to go then. Danilo Petrucci shakes his head in frustration. How many times he's said in World SBK that opening laps are a little bit too feisty here for his liking. But he does seem to always be in the thick of it, doesn't he?
Middle of it a lot. And, for Petrucci, the speed's there, and he did a really good job in the Super Pole session. He was one of the few riders that actually put in one of his ideal times to be able to give himself his grid position. But for Petrucci, you can see on the run in towards turn 1 here, keep an eye on the number 9 machine. He's got the 2 Aruba bikes around him, and he gets himself out of shape trying to get it stopped. Does a good job to still hold in that tight line to the apex. But then from this point onwards, it all just comes together in for so many different riders there, and you can see just how heavy the crash is for quite a few of them.
Yes, hopefully all of the riders involved okay to take their places at the restart. Again, Sam Lowe's sluggish away, and Andrea Locatelli moving up to challenge on the inside of Toprak Razgatlioglu, side by side between the 2 Aruba bikes as well. And then the change of direction here, and that's where it all bunches up, everyone going for the inside line. And 3-4 abreast is not going to work through turn 2 here at Peloton Park Circuit.
No, and it's like you said, Alex, everyone's heard all weekend about how difficult it is to make the moves around here, that it's going to come down to that first lap. That pressure builds to this sort of point as well. And you can see how lucky Alex Lowe's was there not to get collected from bikes from behind. But everyone's holding their hands up wondering what happened. But that's the nature of racing. Everyone's trying to fight for their spot. You can see Iannone just makes a bit of a mess out of turn 1, and then you're in the wrong place for turn 2, and there's a big chain reaction around here. If you make a mistake in one corner, it impacts you for the next couple.
I was thinking they're all very lucky, actually, that none of them gets really run over or clobbered by a bike, because you've got riders falling on the racetrack there. Yanone's a good example. You see him sort of pirouetting off to the right there. But riders falling heavily on the track, and then a big group of bikes behind them, because you've got 20-odd riders on the grid here. I feel like we were quite fortunate there, making it through turn 2.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at the incident, you're able to see just how easily things could have gone very wrong for a lot of riders there. So at least we'll get the chance for hopefully all of those riders to get their bikes repaired and get back into it. Still waiting for an update on Remy Gardner as well, but you can see for Ryan Vickers' crew there just getting his bike repaired as well.
Yeah, Gardner declared on the starting list at the moment. Obviously, if he's medically fit, he will be eligible to take the start. 23 riders due to start. Will we have all 23? Anthony, what can you tell us about Remy Gardner's current situation?
Well, I'm just standing outside of the garage, and the bike does seem ready to take part in the race, but Remy isn't in the garage so far. And from some of the signs I can see from the team, it seems like Remy won't be cleared to be able to take part in this race, unfortunately.
That would be a real shame for Remy Gardner. Obviously, it's a situation with 7 riders involved, and the sort of statistics and the mathematics are on the side of someone having taken some hit in that spill. But fingers crossed that everything does turn out to be okay for Remy Gardner. And much as it was a tight first lap, we would like to start again with a full complement of riders, if at all possible. Looks like Barney are getting closer to completing their works, with Jari Montella watching on, and as his bike is prepared. It's looking a lot calmer down there now than it was sort of 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing for a team when both bikes are involved in an incident. It makes it very stressful down there in the box. But Montella keeping himself as calm as he can. 2 minutes until pit lane opens, which means an extra minute after that until pit lane closes. You will still be able to take the restart. You'll just be from the back of the grid if you don't leave within that minute.
A quick word about that, because obviously you're in a situation where, yeah, you've got 2 bikes in your team. For Barney Ciccati, it's their first season in that situation as well. So much as you've got team personnel who are working across the whole team, you have also got those that are more focused on one rider than the other, and then there's a bit of pooling of resources going on as well. So quite a complicated mesh going on.
Yeah, everyone has their crew of mechanics, and if one bike is fine and the other bike isn't, you'll always have it where the mechanics work from the other side of the pit box to help out as well. And you can see there for Remy Gardner's crew, it's the end of the day for them, unfortunately, like Anthony said. But that's a real shame for them, because Remy haven't signed that contract. There was a bit of optimism coming into this one for what they'd be able to do, but obviously for the team, the main thought is just that Remy's going to be okay after that crash.
Yes, and the emotional shot of an empty seat at the back of the garage for Remy Gardner. We're less than a minute away now from opening pit lane, and then you'll see everyone race out within a 1 minute span. Just to get underway. We're getting a notification here from Race Direction. Let's take a look at what that says. A double long lap penalty for Andrea Iannone. Irresponsible riding on the opening lap causing a crash. Now, I have to admit, Steve, first glance, the first thing I said, wasn't it, was it looked like Iannone had got out of shape. But then when you watch it back, you see he's got 2 riders right behind him on the inside of him as well. So it was very tight there on that opening lap.
I don't blame the stewards for making a decision on it, but you'd also probably prefer if they made the decision for tomorrow, just because it's so much information to look at. They get more camera angles than we did. They've got more information. But for Iannone, it's a very harsh penalty when maybe you don't have the opportunity to go and explain yourself as well. And that's always part and parcel of taking penalties. But Iannone's had his run-ins with the stewards already this year, and he's been quite vocal about them earlier in the year.
And the other problem with it as well, Steve, is it's a new circuit, lap 1 incident, you know, second turn. I must admit, my first reaction, as you say, the stewards do have a lot more information, they have a lot more time to review it as well, but my first reaction is that feels a little bit harsh on lap number 1 of race 1 at a brand new circuit.
And that's what I mean. If they made the decision after the race to then penalise them for tomorrow, you then have it with a lot more information to hand at that moment from what Iannone can tell you. But obviously as well, one of those situations where we don't have that information that they have, and they've made their decision. Iannone is going to have double long lap penalty, and let's see what happens here for the Moto Corsa team and for Ryan Vickers.
Riders making their way out on the sighting lap, but unfortunately not a full complement. Anthony.
Apart from Remy Gardner, it seems like Ika Lecuona won't take part in this race either. The bike is back in the box, but the rider isn't. And just a couple of garages away, there was a big round of applause from the Kawasaki team once they managed to get Garrett Gerloff back onto the track. Huge effort from the team.
Yes, with a little bit of cross-garage support as well. Obviously, it is very much Bimota by Kawasaki, but there was a little bit of Kawasaki by Bimota to get Garrett Gerloff out there.
Yeah, the bikes are actually still prepared by Provac. That's Danilo Petrucci, and he hasn't been able to leave the pits there. And whether that was because of a technical issue or because the red light had come on, will remain to be seen. But for Petrucci, it's going to be back of the grid for him, and for Ryan Vickers, looks like he's not going to be able to take part in this one. All the hard work for the team, and they're not going to be able to take the start.
And the information that we have is that they're not alone either. Looks like Vierge's bike too. I'm just trying to make sure that the info we're giving you is accurate, because obviously the second bike could mean that we've got quite a lot going on here. But Petrucci certainly looking very disappointed there at the end of pit lane, understandably so, having qualified well up in P5. Right, let's see.
Vierge is out there, so
that was the other bike. Yeah.
It's always tricky at this stage because it depends on which transponders are coming out active on our timing screens as well. But obviously, we were able to see that Danilo Petrucci wasn't able to make it out.
Yeah, what it does give you, those transponders, though, is an indication of who's on their original bike and who's on their spare, their second machine. And you'd assume that Xavi Vierge is one of those. He's going to line up P9. No Ika Lecuona, his teammate, due to line up directly in front of him. Remy Gardner missing as well, having gone to the medical centre after that spill. He was due to line up at P11. So we're certainly two riders down, and we'll see Danilo Petrucci as well missing from P5 on the grids. But he has made his way to the end of pit lane, and hopefully he will have the opportunity now to start from the back of the grid. Danilo Petrucci, as we line up now. Well, what a dramatic start and what a dramatic restart we've had here in Hungary. Not quite what we were expecting to get us underway.
It is a little bit like what we were expecting. We knew it was going to be troublesome on the run down in towards that opening corner. You can see there Petrucci looks like he's ready to leave from pit lane, so he'll start from the back of the grid, and he'll have his work cut out for him. It's really unfortunate for Danilo having qualified on the second row of the grid, but we'll at least get to see just how much overtaking possibilities there are around here.
Yes, Petrucci, obviously Lecuona and Vickers as well, if they were ready, they're eligible to take the start. We've been given that information, but what we heard from Anthony was that Lecuona wasn't ready. And we saw Ryan Vickers actually in the pit box, didn't we, with the bike still being worked on, and he wasn't ready to go at the time either.
Yeah, Ryan, we saw take his gloves off, and the team give him a pat in the back. They knew that the bike wasn't going to be ready to go for the race, and really unfortunate that, because you also lose information and data for tomorrow's long race too. But for the riders now, it's a case of you get yourself ready for the race, and Ian One with a double long lap penalty on the number 29 Ducati, but we'll see how the front runners all fare through the opening couple of corners. Sam Lowe's made a poor initial getaway into turn one on the initial start, but then was able to recover it well. That's Ian One taking a long lap penalty loop as well, just to see what the conditions of it are like. We don't know how much time he'll lose. Usually it's around 3 seconds, so it is a big penalty for Ian One.
Yes, that's around the outside of turn 11 here, the long lap penalty. It is the southern loop, as it were, of this Balaton Park circuit. Unfortunately for Ian, that one won't count. He's going to have to do two in racing conditions once we've got underway. But it's going to be particularly costly for track position, of course.
Yeah, it is, because every time that you take that, you're going to lose positions. For Ian One, you have 5 laps to take those 2 long laps, so he'll presumably try and stretch it out as long as he can at the start and open up a big gap to the riders behind him from, you know, P14 downwards, P15 downwards. But he's going to have a tough time.
And so is Danilo Petrucci coming through from the back of the grid. The only consolation for him is that he's got good pace. That does clear the way somewhat for Nicolo Bulliger, doesn't it? A very empty looking second row this is going to be. as Nicolo Bulliga has no Danilo Petrucci alongside of him starting from the back, and no Iker Lecuona alongside of him. He's retired, having gone to the medical centre. No Remy Gardner further back. Andrea Iannone with a double long lap penalty, and confirmation that Ryan Vickers has retired.
Bautista on the third row of the grid, the number 19 Ducati, made a really good start initially. Let's see if he does the same again.
Opportunity for Bautista here to challenge for the podium places right from the start. He hasn't had too many of those opportunities, generally qualifying further back down the order. 20 laps now for a restart. Race 1 of this 2025 Hungarian round. Another slow start from Sam Lowes. Bautista with another good one. Goes straight to the outside again on Nicolo Bulliga. Bulliga pinched in the middle of Sam Lowes and Alvaro Bautista. They're a little bit more tentative, all of them this time around. Not Jonathan Rea, though. He's surging through the field and splitting the two Aruba Ducatis here on the opening lap. So that's Jonathan Rea up from to 5th position now. Behind him, Xavi Vierque making his way through to 7th, ahead of Alex Lowes. Andrea Iannone 9th early on, and obviously a reduced field of riders with Tito Rabat stranded out at the back. Toprak Razgatlioglu then breaking away. Locatelli in 2nd position, smoking as he brakes heavily for turn 5. Sam Lowes right behind him, and Alvaro Bautista jumping his teammate. Jonathan Rea also getting through, so Bulliga down to 6th place. Far from ideal for the championship contender.
Yeah, really good for Johnny as well to be able to make that start from 10th on the grid, so 8th effectively, to be able to get himself up into the top 5 and ahead of Bulliga. And this is where we'll get to really see just how difficult it is to overtake, because Bulliga obviously has more pace than Rea over the course of the weekend so far, but is he going to be able to make the move easily?
First long lap penalty being served here by Andrea Iannone, darting to the outside line through turn 11, so that's going to cost him a lot in terms of track position. I'm a little bit surprised that he's served the first part of it as quickly as that. It's going to leave him a lot of riders to pass, whereas if he'd left it a couple of laps, he could have tried to rejoin in front of some of those lower order riders.
Yeah, as we saw in the shot there as well, Petrucci's up in about 13th position as well now, so good start from Petrucci from the back of the grid.
Yes, the back of the grid not quite as severe when you're a couple of riders down, but it's still a fair old penalty, so Petrucci angling well on lap number 1. Into lap 2 then, Razgatlioglu breaking 4/10 of a second away. Now we'll find out what passing's like at this Balaton Park circuit, because Sam Lowes under braking into turn 1 wants to get down the inside of Andrea Locatelli. Nicolo Bulliga wants to make the pass on Jonathan Rea, and he's done so. So Bulliga recovers 1 position. He's now back up into 5th. The next target, his teammate Alvaro Bautista for P4.
Yeah, but look at the margin he's already given up to Toprak at this stage, 2 seconds behind the race leader. And he needs to try and just have that recovery zone now to make his progress. This is the move from Bulliga down in towards turn 1, and able to make it nice and clean, holds that tight line, and once you're able to hold that line, you're able to make the move and take control of the corner there. Rea does a good job to try and defend it, but Bulliga just has that little bit more than him.
Fast first sector from Nicolo Bulliga with a little bit of clear air in front of him to Alvaro Bautista. He's got a gap of 4/10 of a second to swallow up. It looks a lot less than that now. Up ahead for Sam Lowes, important phase of the race. He could do with clearing Locatelli just to avoid Toprak Razgatlioglu getting beyond his reach.
Yeah, and you can see at this stage, Alex Lowes trying to make his move on Jonathan Rea. Good start from Lowes as well, from 12th on the grid to be able to run up inside the top 7 now.
Yeah, Lowes ran that tighter line through turn 11 on lap 1 as well, just waiting to see if an opportunity presents itself in the battle against his former teammate Jonathan Rea for 6th position. I can tell you that Andrea Iannone has completed the second part of his double long lap penalty. He'll come out at the back of the field, but now the only way is up as far as the Go 11 bike is concerned.
Let's have a look here at the change of direction through the chicanes for Locatelli and Bautista and Bulliga compared to Lowes. Lowes looks a lot smoother and slower as he tries to get himself across the bike. Looks comfortable out there.
668 metre start-finish straight here at the Balaton Park circuit, and it's not enough for Sam Lowes to get alongside Andrea Locatelli. It is enough for Alex Lowes to attack Jonathan Rea. Can he get the motor stopped? The answer to that is no. Rea is back through, but Lowes will now have the inside line. Rea just closes the door. Good to see the typical combat from Jonathan Rea, but he is losing a lot of time to the riders in front of him and looks vulnerable to attack from behind.
Yeah, and obviously the two Aruba bikes are faster, and for Rea, he's trying to just hold on to as many points and positions as he can at this stage of the race.
Second attempt then for Alex Lowes will be into turn 5 here on lap number 3, but again Jonathan Rea closes that door, so it's Razgatlioglu who leads. 1 minute 40 flat last time around, half a second gained again over Andrea Locatelli. Then it's Sam Lowes right on the tail of Locatelli as they flash their way through for second and third places, and it's a lot closer now for 4th position as well. Nicolo Bulliga just a couple of tenths of a second behind Alvaro Bautista. Jonathan Rea over a second back from those Aruba bikes. So if Alex Lowe's wants to get up and after them, he needs to clear Rea quickly now.
Lowe's on the number 14 bike, just able to stop the bike so much easier into those chicanes, and that's going to give him the opportunity at some point on Locatelli. You'd imagine into 15, if he's nice and smooth through this change of direction and hooks the bike up on the exit, he will give himself that chance.
Sam Lowe's needs to get through quickly now on Andrea Locatelli. New personal best first and second sectors from Alvaro Bautista, 2/10 faster than Sam in sector 1, a 10th faster in sector 2. So if Sam Lowe's doesn't quickly clear Andrea Locatelli, then Alvaro Bautista could be through on him. Nicolo Bulliger scrapping with Bautista as well. The two of them went side by side through the last shot, and Bulliger is in front of Alvaro Bautista now. That is fourth position, and what an important fourth place it is as well for Nicolo Bulliger. Looks as though they've cost themselves a little bit of time to Locatelli and Sam Lowe's ahead. Sam Lowe's still not able to get through on Locatelli as Bulliger runs wide into turn 1 at the start of lap number 4.
There's the move into 15 for Bulliger, and he's able to come through. Runs in a little bit hot. That's the risk you have at making the moves into these chicanes. That's where for Lowe's it's through 7 and 8 to set the move up into turn 9. That's where he's able to stop the bike well on the angle.
Opportunity into turn 5 on lap number 4. A couple of times Sam Lowe's has been close, but not quite close enough. Ultimately, he's going to have to force the issue on this one to get through on Locatelli. Otherwise, Bulliger's going to be right on his tail.
Super concession chassis from Yamaha that they brought in this year helps them on the exit of those corners, like turn 4 down into 5, and it gives them that exit that they're able to just punch out of the corners well with grip.
Quick word on the battle further back down the order as well. Danilo Petrucci now up into 8th place. You can see him just in the background of your shot there. He's ahead of Xavi Vierge, now directly behind Jonathan Rea. And Rea is doing pretty well to stick on with Alex Lowe's. Half a second the gap there, but Petrucci should be moving through on the next couple of riders in front of him in fairly swift order.
Yeah, good job by Danilo, up inside the top 10 from the back of the grid.
And faster than anyone other than Toprak Razgatlioglu last lap around, Petrucci as well. So yes, there was the fighting between Bulliger and Bautista, but Petrucci has good pace at this stage of the race. And well, he's a few seconds behind the podium positions as things stand, with a few riders between himself and those rostrum spots as well. But Petrucci going great guns as we watch Andrea Locatelli with Sam Lowe still just a 10th of a second behind him. Toprak Razgatlioglu is gone now. This is a race for second, but it's a race that involves 4 or 5 riders here for possible spots on the podium. Sam Lowe's at the start of lap 5, again close to Andrea Locatelli, but Locatelli's good enough on the brakes to hold on.
Yeah, Loc is riding really well just to keep Sam at bay here, and obviously for Locatelli, 7/10 of a second slower than Toprak and slower than the riders behind them, but he's got that all-important track position.
Is Sam being a little bit too gentlemanly here? Does he need to get the elbows out and force his way through on Locatelli? Because if he doesn't, Bulliger's going to be through. He's 3/10 of a second a lap faster at the moment than Sam Lowe's directly ahead of him. They come down this short straight towards turn number 5. Lowe's this time is alongside Locatelli, smoking again as he tries to get the bike stopped, and finally Sam Lowe's is through for second position. That's a crucial move at a quarter distance of race 1.
Let's see what his sector time is through the next sector as well. Last time around it was 23.3 for Lowe's, so we'll see if he immediately finds a little bit of pace now that he's got that clear track. Oh, and tries to get the bike stopped into the first of the chicanes, and just about does there, but trying to give himself the chance to break away from Locatelli.
Well, Locatelli wants to see if there's an open door for him to force his way back through here. If he doesn't, Bulliger's going to be through on him. Bautista beginning to drop away. He will hope that these three start to scrap it out, because the second half of the race, we saw it again in race 2 at Donington Park, Bautista is at his strongest.
Yeah, and obviously today a little bit different, everyone with the harder tyre. We shouldn't have much of a tyre drop out there. And interestingly, most of these riders in the lead group all using the same combinations front and rear. Toprak's actually got slightly different rear tyre, just the standard rear tyre compared to all these riders with the newer tyre from Pirelli.
Yeah, certainly go with what you know, and Razgatlioglu's riding much as he did at Donington Park last time out, easing away while Bulliger's got a scrap for second place. And damage limitation, I said at the top of the programme, Nicolo Bulliger the closest he's been to getting into those podium places in race 1 here at the Balaton Park circuit. Locatelli closes the door into turn 1, but you'd fancy by the end of this lap Bulliger should be through into thirds.
Yeah, we'll see what happens for Bulliger if he's able to try and attack in towards turn 5 as well. That's where we saw Lowe's come through in Locatelli last time around, but this is where the Yamaha is actually quite strong. It's able to carry that roll speed and exit these kind of corners quite well, but Bulliger's close to him, should be able to set the move up.
We know how good the Ducati is under acceleration. Sam Lowe's made his pass on Andrea Locatelli for second here a lap ago. Nicolo Bulliger follows him through on lap number 6, so it's now Razgatlioglu leading ahead of Sam Lowe's in second, Nicolo Bulliger third, and Andrea Locatelli down to 4th.
Yeah, and Bulliger now into P2, into P3, and with that chance to hunt down Lowe's, and considering the Friday was really tough for Bulaga, couldn't get the bike stopped. Finished in 8th in the combined times yesterday and 6th this morning, 4th on the grid, and they're running up in the podium spot. So good job by Bulaga to be able to give himself these opportunities, but you can see just how it's not easy to make the move into turn 5 there, and Locatelli was braking right on the limit. You can see he had a bit of a snap whenever he got on the brakes, just trying to get that bike stopped. But for Bulaga, he's done what he has to do.
Bautista in a little bit deep there. That's a shame for Alvaro, because last lap around set a new personal best lap that was 0.4 of a second faster than Andrea Locatelli, and you feel that Bautista could get Locatelli at very least. If he's thinking about a podium, he needs to be consistent and avoid those kinds of errors.
Just at the front of the field as well, Toprak in this lap has lost 1/4 of a second to Sam Lowe. So we'll see what it is as they come across line. 40.5 for Toprak, 40.2 for Lowe's personal best, 40.1 for Bulaga, his personal best as well. So they pulled back 1/4 of a second there, just with the clear track from Locatelli.
The problem is they've got 2.8 still to find to Toprak Razgatlioglu, the race leader, and Toprak can afford to manage his pace. Oh, Sam Lowe's has come to grief from second position on lap 7 of race 1 here at Balaton Park, after just setting a new personal best lap, faster than even race leader Toprak Razgatlioglu. Sam Lowe's is out in race 1 of the Hungarian round.
Yeah, and you can see the frustration there for Sam from that one, and for Bulaga now released into P2, the gap is 3.3 seconds to Toprak Razgatlioglu out in front, and opening up a margin now over Locatelli.
So Bulaga has no further riders to surmount in order to see Toprak Razgatlioglu in front of him. 3.5 seconds is his gap, and 0.4 pulled back last lap around, but Toprak answering straight back. New fastest first sector, new fastest second sector. Toprak's making it clear that Bulaga needs to give it up on this one.
Yeah, and you can see for Toprak after the last lap, just giving himself that opportunity in the first 2 sectors and on course for fastest lap of the race. This is on board with Bulaga coming in towards turn 2. Let's have a look and see what we can see from Sam. It almost looks like a wet weather crash there, just the front just completely goes away, but that's a real shame for Lowe's and for the Mark VDS team. Their target for making that progress is to have the feature length race podiums as well that they've been able to have in the Superpole races.
There was one available here, wasn't there? Even if Nicolo Bulaga had got through, Sam Lowe's had passed Andrea Locatelli, was through up into the podium positions. There's the response from Toprak Razgatlioglu. New fastest lap of the race on lap number 7, a 1 minute 39.732, half a second faster than Nicolo Bulaga. Your race is now for 3rd position.
Yeah, and certainly for Toprak, he's just asserted himself now with that, but good scrap going on here as well with Javi Vieira in 7th position ahead of Ray. Garrett Gerloff doing a good job recovering from that crash, and for the Pichetti squad, they'll be cheering him on now after getting the round of applause for their work to get the bike repaired, and Jari Montala behind them as well. So 2 repaired bikes out there trying to fight it out to get into the top 8.
Javi Vieira, 7th position for him. Hasn't had a result as good as 7th since way back at the Italian round in Cremona at the start of May. Scored only 7 points at the UK round last time out and didn't manage a single top 10 finish at Donington Park. So much better here. Obviously a race of attrition, but Vieira has had to make his way through on Jonathan Ray, no less, to get up into 7th position. Ray sticking with him and trying to answer back, but the danger will come from behind. Garrett Gerloff always seems to wind into races. Looking good for yet another top 10 finish for him here, as Jonathan Ray attacks down the inside of Xavi Vieira. Wide entry to turn 11, and Jonathan Ray says, well, if you're going to leave the door that wide open, and makes his way back through now into 7th place.
Yeah, good move by Ray. We saw him combative at the start of the race, and doing a solid job now on the second Yamaha. Obviously his teammate Locatelli up there in the podium spots, but Ray doing a decent job now to get himself the chance of a top 7 finish. He's got about 4 seconds to make up with the riders in front of him, so this is as far as this group can go.
Locatelli is still in the podium positions, but I'm not quite sure for how much longer. Alvaro Bautista with a new personal best second sector, pulled back 1/4 of a second in that sector alone. The gap now is down to 0.3 of a second, and Bautista was 0.4 faster than Locatelli on that lap number 8. So by the end of this lap, Bautista should be within range to strike on Andrea Locatelli for 3rd position. This is Jari Montella making his way through on Garrett Gerloff for 9th. and a 4-rider scrap for P7, but we're going to have a duel, Locatelli versus Bautista for 3rd place by the end of lap 9.
Yeah, and for Bautista, as usual, in the longer races, whenever it's not about having that ultimate speed like in a Super Pole session, he's still able to show just how good of a job he can do, and this is a big weekend for him because it's an opportunity to be able to get good results in all 3 races.
10th of a second between Locatelli and Bautista then on lap number 9. Behind them, Alex Lowe's just 0.6 of a second back, doing well with a solid top 5 finish. Petrucci, having come from so far down the order, doing really well in 6th position, having started from the back of the grid. Here goes the first attempt from Alvaro Bautista. He's through on Locatelli, straight across his path to the outside even as he makes his way through, but somehow manages to get it back across, and that's a classic block pass from Alvaro Bautista, one that sees him into the podium positions on lap 9.
Yeah, good job by Alvaro, and you can see Alex Lowe's behind on the Bermuda as well. He'll certainly think that there's a chance to attack Locatelli now, and Petrucci, he'll know that he could still finish on the podium from the back of the grid.
Well, the great thing for Alex Lowe's is that that's cost Andrea Locatelli about 0.6 of a second all in one go over the course of sectors 2 and 3. So Alex Lowe's right there now with Andrea Locatelli, 0.3 of a second down on him, another 0.3 of a second the gap to Bautista. We've been saying all race that Petrucci's got the speed to match the likes of Bautista. Now he's only just over a second behind him.
Yeah, Danilo's done a really good job, made a good start, was up inside the top 15 straight away and then into the top 10, and just steadily making his progress now into the top 6.
Next couple of laps are going to be interesting for Bautista. He can see Nicolo Bulliger up ahead. The gap is 2 seconds to his teammate, and yes, the tyre wear is not the same as it was at Donington Park last time out, but that's the target for Bautista, to keep trying to narrow those gaps to his teammate. New personal best last time around from Bautista when he set, when he made a pass as well. So let's see what the lap pace is like on lap number 10. This is the action further back. 3-rider scrap here for 7th. Jari Montella riding up the back of Jonathan Rea, and that's what's allowed Garrett Gerloff to come through into 9th. And I can tell you that since then, Gerloff has made his way through on Jonathan Rea as well, and Gerloff is now up into 8th place.
Yeah, you can see how everyone can trip over each other in these chicanes, and again, it's one of those situations, 3 bikes together, and suddenly you can find it where everyone ends up fighting for that same piece of asphalt.
Was that Jonathan Rea being very clever there, making his move to the outside, expecting Vierke to hold back the man on the inside, and tries to get the run around the outside, and it works out very nicely for him as Montella and Gerloff renew their rivalry now for 9th position. So Rea's got back in front of them for B8. Great action between these 4 riders in the race for 7th.
Yeah, Rea's still got a fair bit of racecraft about him, and obviously all the rumours at the moment that he might well be Jari Montella's teammate next year, but he knows that this is a chance to be able to fight during the course of this race. And look at the speed there for Rea on the exit. That's where the Yamaha works well. The Honda's good on the brakes, but Rea's going to attack.
That was brilliant. All the way around the outside from Jonathan Rea, knowing he'd have the inside for the next corner, and Jonathan Rea will not give in on this 7th position. It's quite clear that to some extent he seems to be outmatched. Vierke, Montella, Gerloff have been swarming all over the back of him, but Rea ended up in 9th. He's now back up to 7th, and Jari Montella will try to follow him through on Xavi Vierke at the start of lap 11, just forces his way down the inside at the end of that 668-metre straight back into turn 1 to start lap 11.
Yeah, just up on track as well. Petrucci close to Alex Lowe's, might well be able to attack into turn 5.
I said watch out for Bautista on lap 10. New personal best from him, 1 minute 39.814. Some of the best pace we've seen from Bautista all weekend long. The gap's now down to 2 seconds. A long way to go to close down that gap, but if he continued at the same rate, he'd be close by the end of the race.
Yeah, and we know that for Bautista, he'll always be able to maintain that speed. Tyre life, not an issue with the harder SC0 tyre here this weekend. So Bautista will certainly think he can dig in and try and keep Bulliger honest.
Yes, Bulliger 4 seconds behind Razgatlioglu. Bautista another 2 seconds back. New personal best as well for Andrea Locatelli. You see there in front of Alex Lowe's and Danilo Petrucci, but Locatelli cannot seem to match the pace of Bautista. So another half a second lost last time around, another half a second lost on lap 11 so far. The gap to Bautista 1.6 seconds. Behind Locatelli, Alex Lowe's coming under increasing pressure from Danilo Petrucci, but still keeping him at arm's length, a couple of tenths of a second between them.
Yeah, I thought Petrucci might have been a little bit closer to him on this lap, but Lowe's doing a good job to be able to hold him off and running inside the top 5, and that again just shows the racecraft for Alex Lowe's, because the Bermuda hasn't had the speed to be there at any stage this weekend, but he's been able to drag something out when it matters.
On we go to lap number 12. Lowe's 0.7 of a second to Locatelli, so he's pulled a little back there. Danilo Petrucci dropping a tenth in the final sector. New personal best final sector for Alex Lowe's. That's why he was able to close that margin on Locatelli. in this race for 7th. Meanwhile, Jari Montella's got to the front of the group, and he's actually started to pull away a little from Jonathan Rea, 0.4 of a second. And that will be good news as far as Montella is concerned, because I think that Vierge will continue to attack Rea, Gerloff likewise. And just hovering in the background of the shot there, Michael van der Mark, faster than the 3 riders ahead of him last lap around. This is better than we've seen from Michael van der Mark of late.
Yeah, and you can see there for Jonathan Rea, just ran out a little bit wide on the exit of turn 4, and it sacrificed a little bit of speed maybe down in towards 5, but he's still able to keep Xavi Vierge behind him. And good effort from Rea here, still just keeping everyone honest. But Jari Montella with the Ducati just able to start edging his way away on that Barney bike.
And much as Andrea Iannone further back was unfortunate with a double long lap penalty, he just hasn't had the pace in this race. Quick word on him, 3 seconds down on Dominic Egerter in the last of the points paying places, and slower than the riders around him. So Iannone certainly not at his best in race 1 after that big spill, it must be said, on lap 1 in the initial staging.
Yeah, the 14th fastest lap of the race, and he's been much better positioned than that on each of the practice sessions. So bit of a shame there for Iannone, but could well be where just the bike not quite working well after the repair.
New fastest first sector of anyone from Alvaro Bautista on lap number 12. Gaps down to 1.8 seconds. Bulliger answering back nicely in sector 2. But nonetheless, Alvaro Bautista has got a small edge at this stage of the race on Nicolo Bulliger in front of him. I don't think it's enough to get there, but it's great news for Alvaro Bautista. The best kind of pace we've seen from him all season.
Well, so often we see it where Bautista doesn't have the pace in race 1 because he's having to come from the 3rd or 4th row of the grid. Today he's been able to make good starts in both stages of the race. He was able to make good jumps off the line, give himself the chance to be able to fight right from the start. He's up there in the podium spots now, and that's going to give him a lot of confidence for the Super Pole race tomorrow as well, that he can make a good start and fight for the podium.
Jari Montella with a new personal best lap last time around, and Jonathan Rea has obviously used him as a yardstick to follow, because he started to break away from Xavi Vierge with 2 new personal best sectors last time around for Rea. Vierge and Gerloff rounding out your top 10. This is the continued scrap for 5th position between Alex Lowes and Danilo Petrucci. Obviously this is important for Petrucci in the context of his battle for bronze, and he said right from the start of the season that the target was to get a medal this season, to get up onto the World Championship podium. Bautista's 3rd in this race. Every point Petrucci can get now is important in defending his advantage. It sits at 15 points over Bautista. If things were to stay as they are at present, it would be reduced to 9.
Yeah, and it's just about trying to give yourself the opportunity to score as many points as you can and to come away with those top 5 finishes. And Petrucci, it also comes down to, is it better off to be a little bit patient now and see what happens with Locatelli, or do you try and attack straight away?
What's going through Sam Lowes' mind right now, because the crash in race 2 at Donington Park was obviously trying to go with Toprak. Crash in race 1, again 2nd position behind Toprak Razgatlioglu, and unfortunately out in fairly drastic fashion, and he was frustrated with that one, you could see.
Yeah, you can see the frustration there for him, and in the pit box it's all too clear as well, and that's all he'll be thinking right now, is that that's a missed opportunity. And again, it looks like a strange crash. When you typically see the bike fall like that, it reminds you of those wet weather crashes, but it's also one of those situations where Sam's the rider that's had that issue. But you're trying to push on, and it does show as well the difference between running in the top 5, running in the podium, running in the top 2, and you're having to just find something that you didn't have before, and you're always trying to push harder and harder. It will click into place for those, could well click into place tomorrow for him, but he'll view this as a missed opportunity, unfortunately.
Lap 14, Nicolo Bulliger's got Alvaro Bautista now under control. First lap in a while that Bulliger's got into the 1:39, so 1:39.854. He was actually faster than Toprak by 0.6 last time around. So Bulliger has re-established his gap at 2 seconds over Bautista, and he's made another 0.2 on this lap so far. So just keeping his teammate at arm's length, but credit to Bautista nonetheless for matching the pace of championship contender Nicolo Bulliger. At 4th place, Andrea Locatelli now has a second's gap again to Alex Lowes behind him for 5th, but Petrucci can find no way to get alongside the promoter of Alex Lowes.
Yeah, Alex is riding really well here, and the gap between Locatelli and Lowes, it seems to oscillate a little bit between 7/10 and 1 second. And Locatelli on this lap has got his head down. This is where for Petrucci it comes down to, are you able to make the move now, because otherwise you might lose touch with Locatelli. But it's difficult to come through in a rider that's riding pretty quickly, and Alex last time around in the mid 1:40s. We'll see what his lap time is when he comes across the line in just a moment. Again, pretty much matching the pace that he's been doing for the last few laps. So for Petrucci, you don't have that big pace advantage in any one area to be able to make an easy move.
Again, quick look back to the race for 7th behind. Here they are. Jari Montella into turn 1, 4/10 ahead of Jonathan Ray. Vierke just behind Garrett Gerloff. Oh, down goes Jonathan Ray from 8th position on lap 15. And that's a real shame because Jonathan Ray was having an entertaining scrap with the likes of Xavi Vierke and Garrett Gerloff. He's gone down into turn 1.
Yeah, and we've seen that crash at turn 1 a few times this weekend across the classes. But for Ray, just trying to push on, give himself the chance of that top 7 finish and keeping Vierge behind him. But just difficult as well whenever you're trying to find that limit, you're trying to push that limit, and you just get caught out. But for Johnny, at least this is going to give him a lot of encouragement to have been able to get himself into a scrap.
Yes, we'll see it again here, Steve.
Just exactly what we've seen so many times this weekend for different riders in Supersport and Superbikes. The front just goes away from you, and it's one of those places where with the new track surfaces, you can end up with basically just floating to that same point, and yeah, Ray just gets caught out by it, but doesn't make a big mistake, but there's a big penalty.
Yeah, Jonathan Ray remounting down in 18th position out of the 19 riders. We see it from on board.
A little bit hot in the entry maybe for Ray there, but not by much. And then he's able to get the bike stopped, but just runs out of grip there. And you'd have to say it's not a big mistake that's been made, but it's a big penalty.
Yeah, a little bit like the Sam Lowe's incident as well there, where you don't see a huge amount wrong from the outboard shots, but then unfortunately it ends with a non-score. Danilo Petrucci alongside Alex Lowe's. This is for 5th position. Petrucci's got himself in hot trying to make that pass. Lowe's will gather it back up on the exit.
Yeah, and that's the thing with turn 1 into turn 2. It always looks like if you're in hot into 1, it might lead you to the inside line for 2, but we haven't seen anyone actually able to make that move stick. You just lose too much momentum. So Alex did well to keep a cool head there and give himself the chance to get the cutback.
Yes, the key is to get alongside the rider and then just stop in their path or run them out wide to the exit of whichever bend it is, just to make sure they've got no way to answer back.
Yeah, the key is to be able to...
Oh, Alex Lowe's must have got himself in a little bit hot there. Danilo Petrucci comes scything through. That's a shame after Lowe's defended himself so well initially for 5th position, but Petrucci is now clear in P5.
Good job by Petrucci from the back of the grid to get himself up into the top 5. I was just going to say, into turn 1, the key thing is, can you hold that tight line to the inside curb? If you can do that, you'll make the move. If you don't really give yourself a chance to come back at it.
Ultimately, from having 2 bikes in the pit box being repaired, Barney Ducati are looking good with Petrucci in P5 and Jari Montella in P7, and Montella are Jonathan Ray again. Second spill in 2 laps for Ray. You wonder whether he had damage from the initial spill, but very rare for Jonathan Ray to come to grief like that for a second time, and this time he is down and out of race 1 in Balaton Park.
Yeah, and you can see there the disappointment for Ray now at this stage after that one. Let's see what happens in it, because it just happens quite early in the corner as well there. Turn 3 and 4 is the long left-hander where you're on the edge of the tyre all the way around, and does it just come around on Johnny? And he's off into the corner. Yeah, at least it's not too bad of a crash for Ray there. The bit of damage done to the bike, but you're always worried whenever you see riders stomping away from a corner like that. But at least for Ray, it's not too bad for him, and there's enough things to take encouragement from this race.
Yes, as we return our focus then to the action, lap 17 of 20. This is Michael van der Mark in 10th position now after the retirement of Jonathan Ray. Axel Bassani right behind him, 0.6 of a second the gap. Taz McKenzie up in 12. Credit to him on his debut on the Bonovo Ducati. 0.3 up ahead of Dominic Egerter. He's beating Sofoglu, he's beating Iannone. And then outside of the points, we've got Rinaldi, Rabat and Zaidi. There's going to be a day for Zaidi to score points. It would be in a race of attrition like this one, but not quite enough retirements for that as yet. Taz McKenzie here, as I said, riding well in P12. A bit of acclimatisation to be done for him with new machinery this weekend after a round out following the end of his spell on the MIE Honda. Yeah,
new team as well, and the bike is so different, the Ducati, compared to what he had been on. So you're trying to build yourself up and then find something. I think by the time we get to Magny-Cours and the rest of the season, it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. I think Aragon, and certainly when we get to Jerez, he'll view that as being a chance of being able to get a good result.
Yes, we're watching Dominic Egerter stalking Taz McKenzie here for 12th position. Obviously, we lost Remy Gardner in the initial staging of this race 1, so these will be the only points for GRT Yamaha. That's Bahatin Sofoglu behind them in 14th, and then Andrea Iannone in 15th. But they're nose to tail for P12. Egerter will attack once again. And at this stage of the race, it's Egerter who's got the superior pace, and through he sweeps on lap 18 for 12th position.
Yeah, good move by Domi, and able to come through there. And it's been good to be able to see that there is actually quite a few places where riders have been able to make moves during the course of this race. And obviously you need to try and force the issue in a few places, but at least you're able to.
Yeah, Mackenzie's pace dropped off quite a lot on that last lap, though. He was 0.4 of a second slower than he had been the one before, and again, he was struggling to get the bike turned there with Bahattin Sofoglu riding all over the back of him. So Mackenzie dropping off his pace. He's got 3 laps to go to try and dig in and get some points out of this one. As we watch Andrea Iannone directly behind Bahattin Sofoglu, who is the next to have a go at Taz Mackenzie. You can see the Bonovo labelled bike with the number 95 number. Replacing Scott Redding from this weekend, and see how quickly Dominic Egerter is starting to escape away. This is Toprak Razgatlioglu, meanwhile. He sits in P1. Remember him? He has led the way comfortably from start to finish here, and it's more of the same as what we saw at Donington Park last time out.
Yeah, ooh, you can see for Toprak, though, still pushing on as he has big head shake on the brakes down in towards turn 15, and Razgatlioglu, this is the way that he likes to be. He doesn't like to take it easy through the course of race. He still wants to push on and learn something for race 2 as well in terms of what the tyre life is going to do. But Toprak just in such good form. Hat-tricks the last 2 rounds, and really from the last 4 rounds he's just been so difficult to beat. But that's where it's critical for Bulega to come away with this 2nd place finish now as well. He's got 2 seconds in hand over Bautista like he's had for much of the race, and able to give himself the chance of those 20 points.
Bautista going to be happy with this. You're not beating your teammate, but you're 2 seconds away from him, and you've matched his pace for much of the race distance. And there was a stage where Bulega was pushing as well there. It's not like he was riding easily.
Toprak just trying to do his best, like Christopher Mullen impression it looks like there. But for Razgatlioglu, just continuing to push on. I think Bautista should be happy with this, because it's as close as we've seen him to Bulega in an opening race the weekend through the course of the season. So he's given himself the chance to go into the weekend and try and fight for something in the Superpole race, and then see what happens in the longer race. If he's able to qualify in the front row of the grid for race 2, he gives himself a real chance.
Alex Lowe sticking with Danilo Petrucci here. This is the closest fight in the top 10 because Axel Bassani has got clear of Michael van der Mark for 10th position, and van der Mark was keeping the gap about a second to the group of 4, then 3, of course, after Jonathan Ray's crash in front of him. Van der Mark must have made a mistake in the at the end of the 2nd sector, because he dropped 4 tenths in sector 2, 4 tenths in sector 3, and ended up behind Bassani. So now Van der Mark down to 11th, and the problem for the Dutchman is that Dominic Egerter is setting new personal bests now that he's got a bit of clear air in front of him. Gap's come down from 2.4 to 1.8 on this lap, so still a chance for Egerter to snatch 11th place from Michael van der Mark.
Yeah, tyre life really isn't an issue for most of the riders. Toprak comes across the line 0.5 of a second off of his fastest lap. Bulega's around about 0.3 of a second off his fastest lap, and for Alvaro about 4 or 5 tenths as well. So we don't have that usual drop off that we have. That's where for the likes of Tommy Aguilar, it can sometimes be frustrating for a team when they see a rider put a fast lap in right at the end of the race. But that's kind of similar to what everyone else is doing. He's got clear track in front of him for the first time. That's why he's setting his fast times, and just trying to claw back that time to Michael van der Mark. It's a 1.5 seconds, but he's a second a lap faster.
Yeah, not quite enough, is it, at a second a lap faster, but should be fairly close by the end. Meanwhile, Taz Mackenzie continuing to lose a lot of time. He's a second a lap slower than the riders around him. He's been passed by Andrea Iannone, who's now up into 13th. Mackenzie down to 14th. He's got Bahattin Sofoglu only 4 tenths behind him. Chance of a change of position for 14th there. Mackenzie should be able to hold on, though, for a point, because Rinaldi's 6.5 seconds back. Tito Rabat another second further in arrears in P17. So, Toprak Razgatlioglu well on his way towards victory. Nicolo Bulega in 2nd. And Toprak will open that championship lead by another 5 points, up to 9. Bulega's done his bit with a damage limitation ride, aided by the fall of Sam Lowes that got him up into that P2, but he's had good pace since then to defend against teammate Alvaro Bautista. But there's been no matching Toprak Razgatlioglu. He makes his way through the final sector, And your inaugural winner here at the Balaton Park circuit will be Toprak Razgatlioglu. It's the 15th different circuit at which he's been victorious in World SBK. Second over the line, Nicolo Buliga drops 9 points back now in the championship standings with 2 races still remaining at this Hungarian round. Alvaro Bautista with 3rd position, and a well-earned one at that. Made his pass on Andrea Locatelli in the early stages. Locker holds on for P4. Danilo Petrucci from the back of the grid comes through for 5th. A great ride from him. Alex Lowe's keeping him honest on that closing lap, but finishes 4/10 back in 6th. Jari Montella, the second of the 2 Barney bikes that was in for repairs moments before the start, comes out at the second time of asking and takes 7th, ahead of Xavi Vierke, Garrett Gerloff, Axel Bassani, meaning that Tuba Motors finish in the top 10. And then the remainder of the points-paying positions, Vandermark, Egerter, Yannone, McKenzie does hold on by 2/10 ahead of Sofoglu, Rinaldi, Rabat and Zaidi, the only riders out of the points, with 5 riders retiring from the action. Drama in the early stages, and then a couple of spills for Jonathan Ray later on. Confirmation then of your podium finishers. Alvaro Bautista, back-to-back rostrum finishes for him after his 3rd place in race 2 of the UK round. It's another 2nd place for Nicolo Buliga. It's not what he needs, but at least he's keeping himself in the hunt. But how's he going to pull back points against Toprak Razgatlioglu riding like that?
Unfortunately, it is what Buliga needs, because he just can't afford to give up those 9 points. It's okay to give up 5 here and there, but he needs to do like he did at Moss, where he picks up one of the race wins, and over the course of the weekend you don't give up too many points, and that'll be the target for Buliga right now. And he'll hope that when we come back after the summer break, that some of those tracks will just suit him a little bit better. Somewhere like Aragon, he'll view it that could be a good opportunity for him.
Well, it's the 999th race, the victory for Toprak Razgatlioglu. He'll be hoping to make it the winner of the 1,000th race, of course. Big milestone for World SBK is tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Super Bowl race is going to be good fun to be able to get to that milestone. And obviously, Toprak, his goal isn't to win the 1,000 race, his goal is to win the hat-trick this weekend, and he's been able to get it off to the right start. But again, you just got to see how difficult it is to beat him, because even though there were a few laps where he gave up a little bit of time to the riders around him, he was able to open up that margin at 2 seconds in the early stages, and he's always just so relentless at the start of races to try and open that gap and then control things. But it worked for him in this one, and it worked out well.
First visit to the Balaton Park circuit. There was enough overtaking. When riders had a pace advantage, they were able to get through. I think that was a decent enough race, barring obviously the comfort at the front for Toprak, but that's been the case, frankly, for the last 3 rounds.
Yeah, so for the Balaton Park circuit, we've been able to see that we had a very entertaining race there, really. There was a lot happening during it. We were able to see riders fighting with one another and trying to scrap it out, and we did see some overtaking moves. And certainly when you look at Danilo Petrucci coming from the back of the grid to be able to come away with a top 5 finish, it's a lot of progress being made by him.
Yeah, great work. A fair amount of that was done immediately, wasn't it? Petrucci, it's going to be an interesting one if we get the chance to watch any of the highlights reels in the coming days of Petrucci weaving his way through.
Yeah, and certainly for Petrucci for tomorrow's Super Pole race, let's see what he can do from that 5th on the grid, and he'll think that he'll have a chance to be right in the thick of things fighting for the podium.
Yes, as you say, he was supposed to start in 5th position, so effectively all of that hard work to end up back where you started. But Petrucci will be in Parc Ferme to celebrate. Top independent. Next best independent was Jari Montella, so good day all round for Barney Ducati. It didn't look like it was going to be, did it, after the crashes and the initial stoppage. Nicolo Buliga makes his way back in. Just wanted to see what his reaction was like. And Alvaro Bautista in behind him, 3rd position. Bautista said himself in the build-up to this round he feels he's the 3rd fastest man in the championship. I think it's hard to disagree with that, but he's got to avoid those incidents that have cost him 3rd in the championship. It is still Petrucci who holds it by a 10-point margin.
Yeah, 3rd fastest is he the 3rd best, and he probably isn't on the course of what we've seen this year just because of those mistakes and the issues that he's had. But for Bautista, at the end of the day, he's a double world champion, so we know what he's capable of, but he needs to try and get himself back to winning some races between now and the end of the season. And if he wants to get himself a ride for next year, the easiest way to do that is to get back to winning.
Yes, but even if he's not back to winning, let's be honest, you know, Danilo Petrucci is much discussed behind the scenes that he's being courted by BMW, so a factory ride potentially for Petrucci for next season. For Alvaro Bautista, He's had comfortably more podiums than Petrucci. He's had, yes, 5 incidents, but 4 of them haven't really been of his making. 1 or 2 of those may be debatable. But Bautista, you know, another 3rd position today. If you're going for the guy who's getting the podiums on the regular, you're going for Alvaro Bautista, aren't you?
Yeah, if you're the independent team looking for the guy that gives you the best chance to get those strong results, it's hard to argue with Alvaro. But if you're the Barney team and all things are being equal, who would you prefer to have on your bike? You'd probably still prefer to have Petrucci on your bike. Obviously, that's not a decision. It's going to be up to them. It's going to be where Danilo decides to go, and could well be where it's announced fairly soon that he's a BMW rider next year to replace Toprak, and that's certainly the big talking point around the paddock, and we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out. But a performance like this doesn't do Petrucci any harm. He's come through the field and he's been able to come away with a top 5.
Yeah, and we saw that Iannone had the same task of coming through from the back and only gets as high as P13. So at one stage there was supposed to be a rivalry between the two of them, wasn't there, for an Aruba seat. Ultimately, that's you know, out of the question at this stage. But Petrucci, top independent P5. Iannone coming back from the double long lap penalty only makes it as high as 13th. I think that underscores what a great job Petrucci has done in that race. And of course, 5th place, so good damage limitation on a day when Alvaro Bautista was well placed on the grid and was able to get straight up into those podium positions. Good ride from Bautista to make his move and come through, and good starts in both of the runnings there for Alvaro Bautista. So good reason to think that he could have another 1, if not 2 podiums tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that for Bautista, that has to be the target, to make sure you give yourself the chance. And for Locatelli, from that front row of the grid, he'll think that he has the chance to be able to fight it out. We saw in the early stages he was able to keep riders behind him. In the Super Pole race, it's going to be interesting because some riders will opt for the softer tyre, the Q tyre, and it'll be interesting to see if you can make it last for 10 laps. That is one of the talking points. Or we could well have that rain that's forecast to come in.
Yes, although the rain, much as it would spice things up, I don't think it would take away any likelihood of a Toprak Razgatlioglu victory, would it? There have not been too many this season of those sort of wacky races. The weirdest ones, I suppose, Phillip Island with the pit stop races and the dramas for Toprak on day 2. And then Assen. And ultimately, it's looking like Assen's been a make or break weekend, because it's one where Bulliger should have walked away with a big points advantage, and instead Toprak pulled back points. And then now we come to circuits where Toprak's in a rich vein of form, and Bulliger's got no margin for error.
Yeah, that's the challenge right now, because you're trying to find a way to upset the rhythm there for Toprak, and you can see they're just giving Russ a little bit of stick. But for Toprak, he knows that he's got that advantage. For Bulliger, he knows it gets harder and harder. He needs a bit of luck on his side.
So Razgatlioglu celebrating the victory. It is one that puts him 9 points clear of Nicolo Bulliger in the championship. You said it earlier on, though, Steve. It only takes Bulliger to come away and win race 2, and suddenly Razgatlioglu makes very little over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, and that's what we saw in Moss. The difference between it being a good weekend and a bad weekend was half a bike length, and for Razgatlioglu, he'll also be aware of that.
It's another 3rd position for Alvaro Bautista. He's getting rather used to that. Only 2 of his podiums this season have been higher than that 3rd place. He is the nearly man behind Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Bulliger, but that's got to be one of his best performances of this season so far. 2.2 seconds behind Bulliger at the checkered flag, matching his pace, certainly after the first third of proceedings, and it is back-to-back rostrum finishes for Alvaro Bautista.
Alvaro, strong result here in the first race at Ballantyne Park. A lot of support for you here. How did you feel?
Yeah, for sure I feel good, no? Because to be on the podium in the first race here in Hungary is special always, no? For sure, I did good start this time. I didn't have any trouble, so I was happy with that. But then in the first 6-7 laps, I was struggling a lot, no? So I pushed the maximum, but the bike just allowed me to do like this. Then when coming later with the less fuel, I can be more precise, I can push a bit harder. That's all. I try to don't lose the gap with Nicolo, because this track is very easy to make mistake. I try to just keep pushing and make him maybe make a mistake or something, no? But it didn't happen. He was so concentrated on the race, so congratulations to him as well. That's all. I hope tomorrow keep enjoying. Let's see also the weather, because it seems like we will have different weather than today, but in any case we will try to do our best, and thanks for all the support to all Hungarian fans.
Fantastic result, well done.
Alvaro Bautista making light work of that third position in the end, coming through nicely on Andrea Locatelli, and we're going to see it again here. But from there, it was a straightforward race from Bautista, but it was good to see him get into some clear air and immediately set lap times on the same pace as Nicolo Bulliger, even But at the moment, Nicolo Bulliger, when you see him looking dejected, when you see everyone downcast, must be feeling that this championship is slipping away from him.
Yeah, a couple of rounds ago we thought it's almost certain you'll go right down to the wire. Now you're not really thinking the same, and the reason for that is Toprak's in the form he was in last year before Magny Corbin, when he got all those race victories in a row. and he's just at his best, and he's found a way to make this bike work. It's not an easy bike to ride, but for Razgatlioglu, for Phil Marin, for the crew, they've been able to put it into a window that allows Toprak to still do the amazing, because there's no two ways about it. What Toprak is doing is really impressive, and he's just been able to find a solution to the problems that we're having at the start of the season.
So Pirelli Best Lap Award, and it's the 9th point for Toprak Razgatlioglu, 13th fastest lap of the season. The others obviously in the Superpole race, and therefore don't count towards your Pirelli Best Lap Award. 5 for Nicolo Bullica, and the only other rider who managed one was Alvaro Bautista, and that was back in Phillip Island. So Bullica and Razgatlioglu certainly the men to beat, but increasingly it's Toprak who is dominating on all of the metrics. 3 of the last 4 poles, just 1 defeat in the last 3 rounds plus this one now, and Nicolo Bullica scratching his head for a way to get back on terms.
Yeah, and for Ducati, that's the challenge that they have now, is to try and use the August break to find that solution. They've obviously got tomorrow's races still to come, but they know what they're up against with Toprak, and Bullica's doing a great job, but Toprak and BMW just have that little bit of a step. They also have the more experience compared to Bullica. It's easy to forget he's only into his 2nd season in Superbike racing.
Goodness me, if you were Ducati, you'd be starting to wonder why you didn't offer Toprak a ride in MotoGP a couple of years ago to give your riders a better chance, because the one thing that's stopping Ducati is not the bike. Much as they're planning to bring a new model next season, it's only Toprak who can beat them.
Yeah, and for Razgatlioglu, everybody knows the level that he's able to operate at, and for Ducati as well, though, they know what they've got with Bullica, and he separated himself from the rest of the field this year, and that's all that you can ask for your rider. And you can see there for Bullica just the bit of disappointment there, but you've got to be able to look for the job you're doing as well, and you'd have to think that Bullica got as much as he can out of his package today.
So your top 3, Toprak Razgatlioglu, Nicolo Bullica and Alvaro Bautista. It's win number 119 for Alvaro Bautista, the number 19 of course. 2nd place for Nicolo Bullica, podium number 43 for him. It is 5 2nd places in a row, and all of them behind Toprak Razgatlioglu. 18th podium of the season for Toprak, win number 13, and just that 1 defeat in the last 10 races. 7 victories in succession. Win number 70 in World SBK, podium number 160, and it will be Toprak's crew chief Phil Marin who makes his way up onto the podium to celebrate, and in a couple of moments' time to hear the Turkish national anthem.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please, your respect for the national anthem of the winning rider, the national anthem of Turkey.
So it's time for the Prosecco, and Phil Marin will enjoy Topraks as Toprak exits the stage. That's the least committed Prosecco spraying you'll ever see for Nicolo Bullica. If he was hoping for a miracle at Balaton Park, it has not delivered just yet.
Yeah, you can see just the despondency for him, and at the end of the day, all that does as well is fuel the opposition at this stage. But for Bullica, obviously we know what his goal is, and there's that sense of disappointment for him now, but he needs to be able to regroup for tomorrow, and we've seen him bounce back from disappointments in race 1 already this season.
So back onto the podium for our regular photograph. The good news for Nicolo Bullica is that there are 2 more races still to come. Tissot Superpole race is going to need a much better start, otherwise be at risk of giving up points to other riders around him. And then race 2, where he really needs a win to end this victorious run of Toprak Razgatlioglu's. Toprak will be looking to make it 9 victories in a row. with his hat-trick in Misano, his hat-trick at Donington Park, and already starting to think about yet another historic hat-trick here at Balaton Park, because tomorrow we're looking forward to the 1000th race in World SBK. Well, in the meanwhile, number 999 is won by Toprak Razgatlioglu and gains another 5 points over Nicolo Bulliger to extend his championship lead. Decent ride from Alvaro Bautista, 2.2 seconds behind Nicolo Bulliger for much of that race. Andrea Locatelli, best of the rest, maintaining his run of top 5 finishes. What a great day for Barni Ducati. Danilo Petrucci coming through from the back of the grid to take P5, and Jari Montella with his best result up in 7th. Last the points paying positions, Taz McKenzie takes 2 in 14th, and then Bahattin Sofoglu in 15th. A race of attrition with several riders out, the last of them Jonathan Ray with a pair of spills. He'll look to bounce back in the Superpole race tomorrow. Race 1 of this historic first Hungarian round in 35 years. A single change to the positions inside the top 10. Unfortunately, Iker Lecuona ruled out after his crash in the initial running. Alex Lowe's leapfrogs him and up into 8th place. Only 3 points now behind Xavi Vierge in that multiple rider scrap for 7th.